Hello students, this is Ahmad. Today we are going to learn the third chapter of Flamingo, Deep Water, composed by William Douglas. Before we proceed, let us learn something about the poet and his achievement. Okay, let's proceed. William Orville Douglas. William Orville Douglas was an American jurist and politician who served as an Associate Justice for the Supreme Court of the United States. He was nominated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Douglas was confirmed at the age of 40, one of the youngest justices appointed to the court, his term lasting 36 years and 211 days, is the longest in the history of the Supreme Court. To break the ice. Dear students, before we proceed, let us learn something about fear. What exactly a fear is? Fear is a natural, powerful, and primitive human emotion. It involves a universal biochemical response as well as a high individual emotional response. Fear alerts us to the presence of danger or the threat of harm. That danger is physical or psychological. The acute state of psychological fear is called phobia. In the present chapter, the narrator, William O. Douglas, is also stricken by hydrophobia, that is, fear of water. He is suffering from hydrophobia, what we call fear. Okay, let's proceed. Introduction. The story is an excerpt from Of Men and Mountains, an autobiography of William O. Douglas. Actually, the present chapter has been taken from an autobiography of William O. Douglas, which is titled as Of Men and Mountains. In the present chapter, the author describes how the fear of water got instilled into his subconscious mind when he was 3 or 4 years old. The day he accompanied his father to a beach in California, and how he conquered this fear by his willpower and determination. The author wants to propagate a message that if we want to come out of the ambit of fear, we should not be out of it. Any fear can be overcome by self-determination and being iron-willed. Okay, let me just bring home to a very popular statement or quotation of William O. Douglas. He says, "Death is peace. It is the fear of death that is terrorizing." Death is peace. It is the fear of death that is terrorizing. Let us proceed. Dear students, now I am going to present the gist of the lesson. Be all ears and be very attentive. Alright? Actually, the story has been taken from the author's autobiography of Men and Mountains. In this piece, he tells us about his fear of water and how he conquered it by determination and willpower. As a child, when he was 3 or 4 years old, he would go to the beach in California with his father. He would get scared by the might of the huge waves which swept over him, and it instilled a fear in his subconscious mind. A few years later, in his eagerness to learn swimming, he joined a swimming pool where an incident further increased his terror. He was pushed into the pool by another boy and experienced death closely, or you can say he had a close death experience. Many years after that incident, he stayed away from water, but the desire to go fishing and swimming in nature was strong enough to motivate him to overcome his fear. He learned swimming with the help of an instructor who ensured that William knew swimming well enough to be able to swim in huge lake and waterfall also. Still, when he would swim, the fear from his childhood experiences embedded in his subconscious mind would grip him over and over again. He wanted to conquer that fear. He faced it sarcastically, thinking that now, as he knew how to swim, what harm could it do to him? He challenged his fear in the face of it, and finally it would vanish. It was a baseless fear instilled in his subconscious mind. This experience was valuable for him. He had experienced terror and death. He overcame it and finally conquered it. William realized that death is peaceful and it is the fear of death that is terrorizing. His will to live life grew intensely as he had overcome his fear and started living fearlessly. Okay, students, now I'm going to present passage-wise explanation, so be very attentive and lend me all your ears for better understanding. First, I'll be reading out a passage, then I'll be presenting its explanation. All right, just be careful. I'm just going to read out the first passage, and then I'll present its explanation. It had happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had decided to learn to swim. There was a pool at the YMCA in Yakima that offered exactly the opportunity. The Yakima River was treacherous. Treacherous means dangerous. Treacherous means dangerous, and YMCA means Young Men's Christian Association. Young Men's Christian Association. What does the writer want to convey? Actually, the writer narrates his experience. He was 10 or 11 years old when he had joined the YMCA swimming pool to learn swimming. He did not go to Yakima River to swim as it was considered dangerous. This shows that he had a prior fear of water. He had a prior fear of water. Okay, I'm going to read out the second passage. Just be very, very attentive. Just Mother continually warned against it and kept fresh in my mind the details of each drowning in the river. But the YMCA pool was safe. It was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end, while it was 9 feet deep at the other. The drop was gradual. I got a pair of water wings and went to the pool. I hated to walk naked into it and show my skinny legs, but I subdued my pride and did it. Let me tell you meaning to some difficult words. The first is D-R-O-P, drop. Drop means slope from the shallow area to the deep area. Drop means slope from the shallow area to the deep area. Water wings, and skinny, S-K-I-N-N-Y. Skinny means thin. Skinny means thin. And subdued, S-U-B-D-U-E-D. Subdued means to overcome. To overcome. Okay. So now let me tell you what does the narrator want to convey. Actually, William's mother would warn him not to go near the Yakima River and would discuss the various incidents of drowning. He felt that the pool at YMCA was safer for him to learn swimming. The shallow area of the pool was only 2 to 3 feet deep, while the deeper area was 9 feet in depth. The slope from the shallow area to the deep area was not steep. He also got a pair of water wings to prevent drowning. He did not like to wear the swimming costume, which exposed his thin legs, but as he was keen to swim, he gave up his self-respect and wore it. Okay, I'm going to read out the first passage. Listen carefully. From the beginning, however, I had an aversion to the water when I was in it. This started when I was 3 or 4 years old, and father took me to the beach in California. He and I stood together in the surf. I hung on to him, yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. I was buried in water. My breath was gone. I was frightened. Father laughed, but there was terror in my heart at the overpowering force of the waves. Okay, aversion means dislike, and surf, surf, surf means wave of the sea, and knocked me down means threw me down. Okay, actually, William says that he had always disliked water and recounts an older experience when he was 3 or 4 years old. He went to the beach in California with his father. They stood as a wave leapt towards them. William stuck to his father to save himself, but the strong wave threw him down and he was covered in water. He was scared as he could not breathe. His father laughed and tried to make him feel comfortable, but the little child was scared when he realized that the waves were so powerful. The waves were so powerful. Okay, now the next passage. My introduction to YMCA swimming pool revived unpleasant memories and stirred childish fears. But in a little while I gathered confidence. I paddled with my new water wings, watching the other boys and trying to learn by aping them. I did this 2 or 3 times on different days and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. When the misadventure happened. Revived means brought back to mind. A-P-I-N-G. Aping means copying. By aping other boys means by copying other boys. To feel at ease means to feel comfortable. Means actually the writer wants to say that when he joined the YMCA pool, swimming pool, the fear of water resurfaced in his mind. He gathered confidence by watching other boys swim and tried to copy them. He had done this twice or thrice at different occasions and had started gaining confidence when the incident happened. He had a narrow escape from death, or you can say he had a close experience of death. Let us. Okay, I'm reading the passage. I had not been there long when in came a big bruiser of a boy, probably 18 years old. He had thick hair on his chest. He had thick hair on his chest. He was a beautiful physical specimen with legs and arms that showed rippling muscles. He yelled, "Hi, skinny, how you like to be ducked? Hi, skinny, how do you like to be ducked?" Okay, so what exactly happened? See, Actually, bruiser means a person who is tough and aggressive and enjoys a fight or argument. Specimen means example. Specimen means example. Bruiser boy. So, and skinny means thin, I told you, and ducked, ducked means to push someone under the water. How you like to be? How do you like to be ducked? Means how would you like to be ducked? How would you like to be thrown into the water? Let me tell you what exactly the writer want to convey. Actually, it had not been long since William had been sitting by the pool when a boy arrived. He was around 18 years of age, had a well-built body with rippling muscles. He seemed to be a bully. He seemed to be a bully. He asked William if he wanted to be thrown into the pool. Now, next passage. With that, he picked me up. With that, he picked me up and tossed me into the deep end. I landed in a sitting position, swallowed water, and went at once to the bottom. I was frightened, but not yet frightened out of my wits. On the way down, I planned, when my feet hit the bottom, I would make a big jump, come to the surface, lie flat on it, and paddle to the edge of the pool. And paddle to the edge of the pool. Tossed, Tossed. Tossed means threw, and wits means intelligence. Actually, the boy picked William and threw him into the deep end of the swimming pool. William landed on the surface of the pool in the same position as he had been sitting in. His mouth was open, and as he did not know swimming, he swallowed water as he sank into the pool. He was frightened, but he used his intelligence and, on his way down the pool, planned to push himself up. When he reached the bottom, he thought that he would make a big jump to the surface, lie on his back, and swim to the edge of the pool. Edge of the pool. All right. Now, next passage. It seemed a long way down. Those 9 feet were more like 90. And before I touched bottom, my lungs were ready to burst. But when my feet hit bottom, I summoned all my strength and made what I thought was a great spring upwards. I imagined I would bob to the surface like a cork. Instead, I came up slowly. I opened my eyes and saw nothing but water. Water that had a dirty yellow tinge to it. I grew panicky. I reached up as if to grab a rope, and my hands clutched only water. I was suffocating. I tried to yell, but no sound came out. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. But not my mouth. Here, bob means jump, and tinge means touch of color. Suffocating means unable to breathe, and yell means scream. Let me explain actually. The narrator took a long time to reach the bottom of the pool. It seemed that the depth was 90 feet instead of 9 feet. He could not hold his breath and felt as if his lungs would burst. When his feet touched the bottom of the pool, he gathered all his strength and jumped upward. He had thought that the next moment he would come out of the pool, but the opposite happened. His movement upwards was slow, and when he opened his eyes, he saw water all around, which was yellowish in color. William got scared and tried to grab something. a rope which would help him reach the edge of the pool, but he got nothing other than water. William was at a loss of breath and tried to scream for help, but no sound came out of his mouth. His nose and eyes came out of the water, but his mouth remained in it. But his mouth remained in it. Okay, next passage. I flailed at the surface of the water. I flailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights, paralyzed and rigid. A great force was pulling me under. I screamed, but only the water heard me. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. Okay, Flailed, flailed. Flailed means to move or to wave, to move hand or to wave hand. Choked means unable to breathe, and rigid means hard. Explanation. The narrator waved his hand at the surface of the water for help, but he swallowed water and choked himself. He tried to pull his legs up, but they were very heavy and lifeless. He felt that something was pulling him towards the depth of the pool. He screamed, but his voice did not go out of the water. Once again, William started going downwards to the bottom of the pool. Okay, next passage. I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. I had lost all my breath, my lungs ached, my head throbbed. I was getting dizzy, but I remembered the strategy. Actually, let me tell you, in such a state of danger, he did not lose his heart. He was not out of his wit. Expanding means losing or giving out. Ached, ached means pained. And throbbed means felt pain in a series of beats. Dizzy means faint. And strategy means plan of action. Strike out means extend. And thrash, thrash means hit with force. Actually, William Douglas tried to save himself from drowning in the pool and tried to grab something. But as there was water all around, he could not do so. He compares his situation to a person who sees a nightmare and fights against the dreadful dream but is unable to ward it off. William was breathless. He felt pain in his lungs, and his head felt a sensation of beating. He was getting unconscious, but he could recollect the plan to save himself. As his feet touched the bottom, he would take a leap and jump up to the surface in a jiffy. Then he would lie on his back, hit the strokes with his limbs, and reach to the edge of the pool to safety. Okay, next passage. I went down endlessly. I opened my eyes, nothing but water with a yellow glow, dark water that one could see through. And then sheer, stark terror seized me. Terror that knows no understanding, terror that knows no control, terror that no one can understand. Who has not experienced it? I was shrieking under the water. I was paralyzed under the water, stiff, rigid with fear. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Only my heart and the pounding in my head said that I was still alive. Stark means severe. Seized. Seized means gripped. Shrieking means screaming. Paralyzed means incapable of movement. And pounding, pounding means repeated beating. Let me explain. Actually, the narrator sank into the pool and the journey downwards seemed endless. He opened his eyes. There was water all around. It had a yellowish glow and he could not see through it. This terrorized William. He says that his feeling cannot be explained, but it can only be understood by those who have experienced a similar situation. He was screaming in the water. He was unable to move due to the fear. His screams also froze. Only his heart beat, and the beating in his head indicated that he was alive. That he was alive. Next passage. And then, in the midst of the terror, came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. At last, I felt the tiles under me. My toes reached out as if to grab them. I jumped with everything I had. Okay. In the midst of means between. Actually, the narrator wants to say that in between the phase of terror, he recollected the plan that he had to take a jump as he touched the bottom of the pool. As he felt the tiles of the bottom of the pool, his feet used all the strength he had and he jumped up. Let us next passage. But the jump made no difference. The water was still around me. I looked for ropes, ladders, water wings, nothing but water. A mass of yellow water held me. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me. Like a great charge of electricity, I shook and trembled with fright. My arms wouldn't move, my legs wouldn't move. I tried to call for help, to call for mother. Nothing happened. Nothing happened means actually the effort went in vain. All the effort of Mr. William Douglas went in vain. He was still submerged in the water. He looked around for help, for any rope, ladder, or water wing with the help of which he could rescue himself. He could only see water all around. It was as if a chunk of yellow water had grabbed him. The terror grew intense. It was like an electric shock that ran through the whole body. He trembled with fright. He could neither move his limbs nor call out for help. Okay, next passage. And then, strangely, there was light. I was coming out of the awful yellow water. At least my eyes were, my nose was almost out too. Then I started down a third time. I sucked for air and got water. The yellowish light was going out. Then all effort ceased. I relaxed. Even my legs felt limp, and a blackness swept over my brain. It wiped out fear. It wiped out terror. There was no more panic. It was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice. To be drowsy, to go to sleep. No need to jump. Too tired to jump. It's nice to be carried gently, to float along in space. Tender arms around me, tender arms like mother's. Now I must go to sleep. I must go to sleep. See, ceased means ended. Ceased means ended. And limp, limp means lifeless. Let me explain. Actually, something strange happened, and William saw light. His eyes came out of the water. His eyes came out of the water. His nose was almost out of it. Then he started going downwards into the pool for the third time. He tried to breathe, but swallowed water instead. The light went out as he drowned again. Then he stopped making efforts to save himself. William relaxed, his legs became lifeless, and his brain experienced a blackout. The fear ended. He did not panic. He became quiet and experienced peace. He was not afraid of drowning anymore. He felt sleepy, was tired to jump up, felt nice to be carried in his mother's arm as he felt sleepy. Okay, now uh, it was all about how he protect himself and how he saved himself. Okay, the next I remember I was lying on my stomach beside the pool, vomiting. The chap that threw me in was saying, "But I was only fooling." Someone said, "The kid nearly died. Be all right now. Let us carry him to the locker room." Let us carry him to the locker room. Means actually, when William gained consciousness, he was lying on his stomach beside the pool and was vomiting. He heard someone scolding the boy who had pushed him into the pool. The voice said that William had almost died, and the boy replied that he was fooling with him. The voice asked the boy to carry William to the locker room. To the locker room. Okay, next passage. Several hours later, I walked home. I was weak and trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. I couldn't eat that night for days. A haunting fear was in my heart. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. Sick to my stomach. Wobbly, WOBBLY. Wobbly means weak. Let me explain. Actually, after many hours, William walked home. He felt weak and shivered. He kept on uh, crying as he lay on the bed. He was unable to eat food. The fear kept on haunting him for many days. The incident made him physically upset. The slightest work made him feel that his knees were unable to bear his weight. He would feel like vomiting. He would feel like vomiting. Next passage. I never went back to the pool. I feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. Next passage. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of Cascades, water of Cascades, I wanted to get into them, and whenever I did, whether I was wading the Triton or bumping rivers or bathing in warm lake of goat rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. It would take possession of me completely. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab my heart. Icy horror would grab my heart. Means cascades means waterfall. Actually, after many years, William came to know of a waterfall and wanted to go in it. Whenever he went for swimming in different rivers like the Triton, Bumping River, warm lake of the Goat Rocks, the fear of water returned. It would grab him completely, disable his limbs, and grab his heart. Okay, passage. Next passage. This handicap stayed with me as the years rolled by. in canoes on Maine lakes fishing for landlocked salmon, bass fishing in New Hampshire, trout fishing on the Deschutes and Metolius in Oregon, fishing for salmon on the Columbia at Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. I, ru- uh, mm, I ruined my fishing. I ruined my fishing trips, deprived me of the joy of canoeing, boating, and swimming. Boating and swimming. Handicap means a circumstances that makes progress or success difficult. Canoes. Canoes means small boats, and ruined. Ruined means destroyed, and deprived means to take away. Let me explain. Actually, the fear of water remained with William Douglas as he grew up. On the boating trips to different lakes in the Maine region, New Hampshire, Deschutes, Metolius, Columbia, Bumping Lake, where he fished different varieties of fish, namely salmon, bass, and trout, the fear followed him. His fishing trips were destroyed as he did not enjoy boating and swimming due to fear. Let us proceed.